All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to today's session using OGE resources to prepare for annual ethics training. My name is Megan Kunkel. I've been an instructor here at OGE's Institute for Ethics and Government for a year now. And prior to coming to OGE, I worked in ethics and policy at the Peace Corps. With me today is my colleague, Don Fike.
Hi, my name is Dawn Fike. I've been at OGE 3 years now. I am a desk officer and an instructor in the OGE's Institute for Ethics and Government. Prior to coming to OGE, I worked at NASA Kennedy Space Center as an ethics paralegal. Welcome to our training.
Thanks, Don. So we're going to begin on our OGE homepage. And just real quick, if I can get some thumbs up reactions that you can see the screen that we are sharing. Good, good. See lots of thumbs up. Okay, great. We don't want to get too far before we confirm that.
Looks like we have a
So
question. Oh, no, looks okay.
just confirming, yeah, those buttons are really close to each other on Teams. So, of course, the OGE homepage can be found at www.oge.gov. And if you have questions about how to facilitate certain aspects of your agency's ethics program, the Resources for Ethics Officials tab up here at the top here is a great place to start looking for support. And when you click on this tab, you'll see many pages within it, and these all function like parts of an ethics program management handbook. So again, if there's a topic that you want to dive deeper into, you can come to this tab and see if we have a page that would be applicable. Now, today we are focused on preparing for annual ethics training. So we're going to take a closer look at the education through training and advice page. So at the top of this page, like many other pages in this tab, you will first see the responsibilities of the Designated Agency Ethics Official, or DAO, listed out. And then there are the key legal authorities. And if you wish to look at the ethics education requirements and the regulations, they are located in the last bullet there at 5 CFR Part 2638, Subpart C. So if you click that link there, it will take you to the Electronic Code of Federal Regulations and to that specific subpart. Following the legal authorities are our key legal and program advisories related to ethics education. I want to highlight two of these here. The first is LA 1609. This provides a really helpful table, actually giving you an overview of all of the various ethics education requirements, including annual ethics training. And then the one below that is Program Advisory PA 1905, and that provides guidance on how DAOs should determine the appropriate content for annual ethics training. Now, these advisories, as well as many other resources, are included in our 4 new resource pages. So if you peruse these, you will see LA 1609 and PA 1906, or excuse me, 1905 referenced often in these. And we're going to do a deeper dive of one of these pages here soon. But before we do, I want to mention a section of these pages that often does go unnoticed because it's towards the very bottom, and that's the agency practices section. And here we have listed out our agency practices for ethics officials to see what others throughout the executive branch are doing to administer ethics education. So you might want to read these and look for some inspiration for your annual ethics training and more. And now Dawn is going to talk to you about one of these pages under our resources section that we'll be highlighting.
Thank you, Megan. We're going to take a deeper dive into our ethics education toolkits. And as you scroll down this page, I want to bring you to the center here, just so you know. Build confidence as a training instructor. We have bolded things throughout these pages to make them stand out to you. But the important thing here is there is a video that is attached to this. And if you click on the video, it will take you to our Institute for Ethics in Government. It will take you to the course page for this training, Prepare for Success, Instructor Approaches for Better Ethics Training. Now, if you can't see the embedded video here, there's a couple different ways to get to it. You can, if you can see it, you can click on Watch on YouTube. You can click the red button, or you can actually go over to our YouTube channel for the Institute for Ethics in Government, and you can search here and find the training that you're looking for. All right, we're going to take you back to our Ethics Education Toolkit. And Megan is going to take you through our annual ethics training toolkit.
Thanks, Don. And one more note about that video. We've separated it out from the toolkits themselves because it's really a good introduction to facilitating a training. So if you're new to delivering training, or maybe you're not really comfortable with public speaking, I think that this could be a great video to start with. So that's why we've set it apart from the toolkit itself. But now we're going to take a closer look at the annual ethics training toolkit. And you'll see here up at the top that we have cited the relevant sections of the regulations for you to review. But we have also created a table, and this is similar to the table that I was talking about that's in LA 1609. We've used this table to provide an overview of just the annual ethics training requirements, and we've separated out those for confidential filers and certain other employees, and those for your public filers. And we want you to pay special attention to any footnotes that we include in these tables. Here we've included 3 for the format section alone. So this is just to help you know where some of these definitions live within the regulations, because maybe when we say interactive or live, we all have different thoughts about what that could mean. So at the very bottom of the table, you'll have the footnote that provides you the citation to where this requirement, this definition lives in the regulation. And then, of course, for public filers, the format depends on the type of employee they are. So we've also provided that citation as well.
Now, there's
So,
just a side note here, too, that when you're looking at the footnotes, whenever OGE puts a footnote in anything, whether it's on our website or on our legal advisories, it is always advisable to read those footnotes. Do not skip over the footnotes.
yeah, there's a lot of good information in those. So from a quick look at the chart, you can see that except for the format and presenter, the other requirements for annual ethics training are the same for your training participants. So the content areas are the same. You all know the 4 main topics listed here, though DEOs, of course, may decide to cover additional topics that they deem appropriate. You have the duration, that the training must last at least 1 hour. You have the written materials listed out, and the deadline, which of course is the end of the calendar year, which is coming up sooner than we would have all thought. This year is flying by. And then you have the training completion, that training completion must be tracked. Now
And just a reminder, the tracking piece goes along with answering the annual questionnaire that is coming up just shortly after the training deadline.
Yeah, so you want to hold on to that data for filling out your questionnaire. I want to pop back up to the written materials section. So as you can see from the table, the following written materials are required. So you have the summary of the standards of ethical conduct, relevant provisions of supplemental agency regulations or summaries of those supplemental agency regulations if your agency has those. Other written materials the DOD determined should be included, and instructions for contacting the agency's ethics office. So all of these things are required. But we also have this noted here that written instructions for accessing these materials can be provided in lieu of the materials themselves. And I want to point this out, for example, because we did this at my former agency, and it's really helpful, particularly when you're trying to share something with your participants, but it's really large, and so your email gives you a bit of trouble with doing that. So we always found it helpful to just direct our training participants to the OGE website. So if you're interested in doing the same, I'm going to ask Don to help me navigate to the page that we often linked to. So if you go back to the top of this page, Don, and we're currently in the Resources for Ethics Officials tab, but let's click over to the Resources for Federal Employees, and then the Standards of Ethical Conduct for Employees of the Executive Branch. Now, this is the page you can link to. And since you are only required to provide the summary, you can link directly to that document for your participants. But we usually link to the page so that a way our participants had access to all of these documents. Right, so we'll head back to the toolkit. We've been talking about the written materials, and you'll see under the table that we've actually provided a separate section on written materials. And we've linked to the summary here as well, so you can always use this link. It's readily available. But we've also included an additional optional document to utilize, and that's the Ethics and Public Service, a supplement to annual ethics training. Now, this document provides helpful, plain language summaries of the principles and the standards of ethical conduct, as well as the criminal conflict of interest laws. And it can actually be customized to include some of those other required written materials. So then it's actually, you know, doing uh, doing everything all in one document. So for instance, at the top here, there's a little box for you to add on the very first page, Don. There's a little box for you to add your agency ethics program contact information. And then as you go through the document, you can see the different summaries. And then towards the end, there's a space for you to include any information about your agency's supplemental regulations. It's towards the very bottom. I think you go one more down. There we go. Yeah. So again, this can be really helpful to share with your participants. They can refer to it during your training. It might be a little bit easier to have handy than the summary of the standards of ethical conduct or some of our larger documents. This one feels a little more user-friendly. Now, we do recommend that all written materials be shared in advance of the training to meet certain regulatory requirements, but also so that employees may review them and have them handy to reference during the training. So if you've done this before, I would recommend, even if you do provide your participants these materials in advance, but you want them to use them during your training, go ahead and be ready to provide them during the training as well. So that a way, you don't waste any time during your training because that 1 hour is precious. You don't waste any time, trying to help them locate those materials. You can just quickly put a link in the chat and then there they have them. So that's a little way you could get a little ahead of it in delivering your training. Right below the written materials, we have the preparing for the presentation section. So if you are considering using some of the customizable products we have in our toolkit, or you are planning to have participants discuss scenarios during your annual ethics training, we really encourage you to watch this training video, Employee Ethics Training, 10 Scenarios for a General Audience. This video shows how to effectively present scenarios, and it explains a model that we have utilized in our products for maximizing engagement with your participants. And I think this is a good video to watch too to get some inspiration and again some guidance on how to have this open dialogue with your training participants to work through specific scenarios.
And one note there, from experience, do not skip watching this video before jumping into all of the training slides.
Yeah,
The training slides will not make any sense to you if you do not watch this video.
maybe that they won't make any sense, but you might have a different interpretation of
You just
what we
might
were
have a
after.
different interpretation of them.
So actually, let's look at that customizable annual ethics training slide deck. So as Don was saying, this video will walk through the model that the presenters would use for going through these scenarios. And the presentation itself includes explanatory notes for each scenario and instructive language in brackets throughout for how to customize it. When customizing, OGE encourages you to select those scenarios that will be most beneficial to your agency's employees and to remove any you may not need to cover. There are 11 scenarios included in this slide deck. That's a lot to work through in an hour, so it's likely you're going to have to pare it down to those that are essential for you to cover, while also meeting the content requirements. So to view the notes, you might have to click at the bottom, the notes to expand them, but it looks like they should automatically open up on your PowerPoint. But if not, there's a little notes button towards the very bottom right-hand side of the PowerPoint. And slide 1 up at the very top, Don, also shows an example of instructive language. So again, we've provided this in brackets just to help mark those parts that you should include your own information. So of course here you would want to put your name and the names of your fellow presenters and the date that you're delivering the training. Now, as you move through the slide deck, you will see more of this instructive language and also the framework that we've been talking about. And this will help to break it down for your participants as well. Now, as you get to the scenarios part and you start to pick and choose which scenarios you will cover in your own annual ethics training, you can delete and renumber scenarios as appropriate. So we have tried to set this up to be Section 508 compliant. And that is part of the reason that we added in these numbers for the scenario to help give each slide a unique title. So that is why the numbers are there and they're in brackets. So of course, if you delete scenario 1, whichever other scenario you choose would then become scenario 1. So that's why that numbering is included here. And let's head back to, oh, actually towards the very bottom, Don, I do want to point out, we provided some reference slides that you can use to either share links with other instructors who are going to be helping you to deliver this training. So if you're trying to delegate, this might be a good place to include those additional resources for your other instructors. Or you can include some resources here for your training participants if you plan to provide them the slide deck. All right, so let's head back to the toolkit. So we have this rather large customizable annual ethics training slide deck, but we've also broken down the slide deck into the various scenarios. So we have 11 here, and we've identified them by the topic. So if you are looking for scenarios on specific topics for annual ethics training, or any other ethics training that you're asked to deliver. You can also see the contents of our slide deck here broken down by topic, so it's a little bit easier to pick and choose from these slides.
I would like to show you, I'm going to pick on spouses employment. And when you open this one up, you will notice that the first thing that comes up is, what do you think? And so we have questions. And if you remember the PowerPoint or the presentation that Megan showed you just a few minutes ago, that goes hand in hand with this, the Ethics in Public Service, a supplement to annual ethics training. These particular topics under the ethics principle should look familiar. They line up with that book. And so this is a great way to marry the book, the presentation, the video as you're watching through all of this. And this is to try to get the employees to start thinking of what would they do if this was the case. And we've left you notes down here at the bottom, so you kind of to prompt you to ask the specific questions. And again, you can feel free to change up these questions, add your own little information here, and then you walk through the principles and then the ethics rules. So this is kind of like the summary of all of the slides, and they all kind of fit in. And then we tell them which ethics rules fit within this, and then you can explain to them how, what they should do in this particular case.
Thanks, Don. Yeah, I'm glad we're taking a closer look at one of the scenarios. And you'll see, and this is explained more in the video that we recommend watching too, but this is really to get your participants engaging with the scenario in a way that they will actually encounter, and a situation that might raise an ethical dilemma, right? So the scenarios that we've given are pretty broad to fit a general audience. But again, it's also to kind of get them thinking of things that they would actually encounter in their day-to-day work. And then what's their intuition about them? And then what would they actually do? What's the action that they would take to either resolve an issue or to just double check that they're okay. All right, so let's head back to the toolkit. And we've got one more thing I want to mention. I mentioned how we tried to make our customizable slide deck Section 508 compliant. And you'll see here at the very bottom of our toolkit, though it's definitely not meant to be like a last thought that you should have. In fact, actually considering your audience should always be top of mind when you're preparing a training. But this is just a reminder to, again, consider your audience. As you customize your slide deck or finalize your training materials, OGE really recommends working with others in your agency to review the accessibility of those materials, as well as the relevance of their content to really enhance audience engagement. You want to make sure that your participants are going to see themselves in the training scenarios or in the discussions to be able to visualize, the things that they're going to encounter. Some of the tips we've included here for your presentations are to choose topics, create examples, and ask questions relevant to the work your participants perform. So again, they'll be able to see themselves in the training. To use PowerPoint's built-in features and layouts. PowerPoint does try to provide you with the tools to keep accessibility in mind. So as long as you're kind of following those set layouts, you should be pretty okay there. And then to avoid the use of animations and color, like only color, to convey meaning in your slides. At the very bottom, we've provided links to the General Service Administration's website for more training and guidance. There's really a lot freely available on creating accessible presentations. So I do encourage you to explore GSA's website, but also other content online that might be available. And then we've also linked to our guidance in the worksheet, Developing and Delivering Effective Ethics Education and Communications. And this document provides important questions for you to think through regarding your audience and the content and delivery of your annual ethics training, but also other trainings that you would be preparing for. Right, so that's a wrap on the annual ethics training toolkit. Don's now going to show you another resource on the OGE website that you can look to.
Okay, we're going to go back up here to the resources for ethics officials. And we're going to point out to you the conduct legal research tab. And one of the things that you may not think about when trying to do your annual ethics training is our prosecution survey. We put this out every summer, and it covers all conflicts of interest on under 18 USC 202 to 209. And so you can find this if you change the date here. We're going to pull up the most recent one. And so this is PA 25-05. And when you open up the conflict of interest prosecution survey, one of the things I used to do at the agency is I would do a quick search of my former agency, and I would make sure that we weren't in this. But if you happen to be at an agency that you do have a couple cases that are listed in this, this is a very good sample that you can include in your ethics training. Now, there are many different types of cases here. This year, there are 11 cases. And the one case that I pulled that I thought was of interest to you, or might be of interest to you, as I close out all my tabs here, I would like you to read what's on the screen here. And as you can see, we've kind of formed it in a way, kind of following our training that we've set up a little bit. And so I'll give you a second to read this. And then I want you to think, what do you think? And I do apologize in advance if anybody is here from the U.S. Army. I apologize, but this is an excellent case to include in your prosecution survey at annual ethics training. There are so many factors to this particular case that you can include. Now, you can do the same thing with your participants. You can put up the scenario, you can copy it directly from the prosecution survey, you can add fancy slides, you can add bullets, you can pinpoint it down to the way you want to do it. Now, one of the things I did not do here was give you the outcome, but that is also something that you can put out here. Now, you can modify some of the facts if you still want to use the case, but maybe you have grant applications that is predominantly in your organization. And so you can change him to be a grants reviewer, proposal maker, those type of things. So you can use this in your actual training. Now, one of the reasons I pulled this particular case is because the gentleman actually, I've been doing ethics for a very long time, and I've not seen a sentence as long as his. It was over several years, again, from 2007 to 2017 to 2023. And then in 2024, he was actually sentenced to 151 months of imprisonment and 3 years of supervised release. And there's a whole bunch of other things that he also got included in this. So this is a pretty substantial case that, and again, a lot of people love to hear cases. And so if you can bring this into your annual training, it would make it very exciting and keep people interested.
It's the drama, right?
That
Like
drama.
you present a scenario and then suddenly you're like, this is based off of a true story. And again, trying to like make it very real, real to your training participants.
Yep.
It looks like, oh, yeah, it looks like Dawn, if you can show again how to get to this section to find these cases. So in the legal research search collection.
Sure. If you go to Resources for Ethics Officials and click on Conduct Legal Research, it will take you to this page. And if you just type in prosecute, this is the easiest way to get there. We do have a whole section on the prosecution surveys. But if you just type in, if I can learn how to type.
I was about to say. And someone in the chat also mentioned the Fat Leonard case from the Navy. Yeah, that's a classic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we have all of these on our website, as you can see. These go back to 1992. So we have many years worth. So if you don't want to use a current one, or if maybe your agency had one that was substantial, such as the Crafty case, that you can always go back and search and look to see if there's one out there. So this is a very good resource for you to use. And then you just click on it and it opens up the PDF for you. All right, Megan is going to take you over to our Institute for Ethics in Government. And one of the easiest ways to get there from no matter where you're at on our website is click on Resources for Ethics Officials and go to this big red button, Visit Institute for Ethics in Government.
All right, thank you, Dawn. So if you have not been to our Institute for Ethics in Government website in just the last week, you may notice that it looks different. It has a new look. The main page closely resembles that of the OGE homepage now, with tabs at the top to direct you to certain parts of the site, as well as, and if you scroll down just a little bit, a What's New section and a Featured Resources section. Now, under the What's New section will be all of the OGE listserv messages that come into your inbox having to do with the Institute for Ethics in Government. So when we announce a training, such as today's training, we send an OGE listserv to let you know that you can register to attend. So now those OGE listserv messages are going to live here. So if we know that you all get lots of emails, OGE listserv messages can sometimes be buried or deleted throughout the course of the day. So if you ever feel like you've missed one, you can come to our What's New section and find it there. And then when you click it to open it, you'll be able to view the contents, which would include the registration link for any particular training.
And it takes you to the different links that we want. In this page, we had where you could register to attend, and then it will also take you to our PEP information.
Mm-hmm. And Dawn had asked to highlight the spousal employment scenario earlier, and that's a nod to our new on-demand course that was just released last week. And so that was also a listserv message that we've included here.
And if you click on this button here, it will actually take you to it in our library, and you have all of the information that you need here.
So if you are looking for a live offering related to annual ethics training, or perhaps another topic that you do wish to cover during your training, maybe you just want to refresh yourself on that topic, There are now a couple of places for you to access our live opportunities. So one of them could be in the What's New section where we have the OGE listserv messages collected. But you can also look at our new tab, Schedule, and this will pull up a calendar with our upcoming live opportunities. So of course, today's training is listed here. And if you find a training opportunity, all you have to do is click on it, and then it will redirect you to the course page, which will provide the registration link. So if you're looking for some live training opportunities coming up here in the next month or two to help prepare for your annual ethics training, or just in general, you can look at this calendar. And there's one other place where you'll be able to quickly identify our live offerings, and that is in our course library, which Dawn is going to do a deeper dive on. But I just want to point out that today's training you see is listed up at the top, and it has this little calendar icon next to it, and that's to help indicate that it is a live session.
So to bounce off of that, when you first come into our collection now, one of the complaints we always had was you couldn't figure out a date of our training and you didn't know what was released. And so now it automatically puts out on the very top here, whichever course is the latest and greatest of our release. So we have today's training, and then we have our spousal employment on demand. And we also include how long it is, so you'll now know, how much time you need to devote for this. But what I'm going to show you is how to use our wonderful new full text search. And when we say full text, not just the title is searchable, but everything that is in here, if there were course materials, bios, there will be a transcript. This particular training is being recorded, so that will also appear on here. So when you go to type in your full text search, it searches everything. So you don't have to worry about if you remembered what title it was. And so we're going to start out with just typing in annual ethics training. We don't really care if it was part of the professional ethics practitioner program. So we're just going to say any, but we do want to see a video. We don't want to really include any archived information. We want it current. So you're going to hit the word search. And then if you notice the screen started changing, but I want to draw your attention to this middle button. If you click on this caret, it now has different filters that you can filter your training by. And because we're focusing on employee training, we're going to click on employee training. And if you notice, we now have 8 continuing education training classes here. And so we want to point out to you a couple of the trainings that might be helpful for you. One is this ethics education, providing annual ethics training during COVID-19 pandemic. Some of you still might be in that hybrid situation where you have some people in the office, some people at home, and back and forth, and a combination of both. So this might still help you as you're trying to figure out how to do your training this year, which will be different, but this might help you. And as we mentioned earlier, there's a transcript here. Now remember, the transcripts are just kind of what come in, so don't try to completely rely on it. Make sure you watch the video, and then you can pull up the transcript to watch it on the sideline with you. And again, there's some course materials here focused on annual ethics training, so that's why this particular piece popped up. So this is a very good training. Patrick Shepard did this one. And the other one I would like to point out to you is making ethics education relevant. Now, I'm kind of partial to this particular course. This was a course that I did along with 2 of my colleagues from NASA, and we did it during the summit of 2020. And it happened actually the day before COVID, before the federal government was shut down. So we do recommend that you watch this video as well. We give you a lot of different tips inside of here to kind of making your education relevant, making it fun. Ethics isn't the best, exciting. It's not criminal. Well, some of it can be criminal, but it is very exciting. And so we try to give you a little bit of help and suggestions. So if you're stuck and you're just wanting something new, go watch this video. And again, there's some slides. We've got a transcript out there. And again, there's several of them out here that you can go out and watch, and depending on which level you're doing. But this just kind of gives you an overview of how to use our new library to find what you're looking for.
And Dawn, I just want to say I'm glad you're highlighting the training that you delivered on making ethics relevant and therefore interesting. I think that ties back in well to that important point of always considering your audience. And also with the prosecution survey, as you're saying, to bring in these scenarios, bring in the drama, make it a little bit more interesting to your training participants. And to not make it feel like, and we will all feel this way sometimes, right? We all have mandatory training that we have to complete, and we just, you don't want it to feel like you're just kind of checking the box, like, okay, I did that. And also if you're making it fun for your participants, I think it can also become very fun for you too as the training developer and deliverer. So just lots of fun all around. I really enjoyed this session that you did, Dawn.
Thank you. Now, I do want to remind you, I mentioned this earlier, that when you see this, and we want to just stress this, that this is not an OGE thing at all. We encounter this ourselves every single day, that if you were to click play here, I'm not logged in to YouTube or anything, so it comes up and it tells me that I need to confirm and try to figure this out. And so if you happen to run into that, you have two options. Well, you have one option really. You've got to log into YouTube. So if you click on the YouTube button here, I'm going to get the same error. And so you have to sign in. And again, this is not an OGE problem. I apologize. But you do have to work with your own IT people to kind of get logged in and be able to watch our videos. And if I was to sign in, I'd be able to watch this video. And another reminder that we do have our own OGE Institute for Ethics in Government YouTube page. So every one of our videos, if you can't get to the embedded part of our videos on our course pages, every video is found on our YouTube channel. So just a couple different ways to remember that there are several different ways to get to the documents, so don't get frustrated if one way doesn't work. Okay, as you can see, we have come to the end of our presentation. And we hope this session has left you feeling more prepared to train your employees this year. And thank you for joining us. And at this time, we're going to turn off the recording, and we'll allow you to ask any question you want. You can raise your hand. We'll take you off of mute. You can ask your question, or you can put it in the chat. We'll hang out for a little while if you have any questions for us. Thank you.